Nnamdi Kanu has taken, the charges against him by the federal government to another level by what? By really fortifying himself and what? And charging the NMA as regards their fake result against Nnamdi Kanu, which the whole world now have seen, even has gotten to the US government as regards the fake result that the Nigerian Medical Association, publish out. What is your take as regards this?
Nnamdi Kanu, you can see the preparation is ongoing, and a lot of a cannon is being fired from different angles at this point in time. Nnamdi Kanu has taken it upon himself and is going to the war front. He is leading on the front now. And you know that the federal government has actually declared war on him, and he is not backing out, and he is taking it upon himself and leading a counter attack on the federal government completely without looking back. You can see on the video what the lawyer Nnamdi Kanu is making a certain revelation. A few days ago, we heard about his presence in the Supreme Court and the heroic appearance there, that erupted there, and the kind of celebration that they gave him, and the overwhelming support from different people. Nnamdi Kanu was spotted on the street of Abuja, being mobbed by followers and lovers, right there when he tried to file a certain application to stop his trial ahead of 2028. And also on that too, today again, we've seen another legal showdown with Omotosho, Nigerian Medical Association, NBA, and the rest of them, running up to 550 million suit against this fake medical report. Nigeria has shown that they are very manipulative on this process. So I can tell you, these are the things that are attracting the international community and the world leaders. We see what the Israeli government is saying about Nnamdi Kanu completely now, and what is going to happen on the 20th October. Nnamdi Kanu is fortifying himself already, ahead of what the uncertainty that has already been tied with Omotosho at the end of the day. Can Supreme Court defeat the appeal court? Or will Nnamdi Kanu be able to defeat, enjoy that support from Supreme Court, knowing fully well that whether Bola Tinubu is going to allow the Attorney General of the Federation, the Chief Justice of the Federation, to do the needful and allow the right thing to be done over the matter of Nnamdi Kanu, without influencing it by the presidency or the Fulani jihadist, political players within the corridors of power, who are bent on making sure that Nnamdi Kanu is not being released, even if he goes to Supreme Court or anywhere, to seek redress on issues of illegality around his, trial. But you can see, that also in that video, people are calling for his release, people are seeking the international Donald Trump intervention immediately. There's a protest in that regard that this man, Donald Trump, should actually intervene immediately without looking back. There's no need of wasting time, because currently now, these people are still going from one place to another, killing Nigerians, killing Christians. Look at the one that has just been reported, recently now. After attacking a particular spot, they still went to church and killed a lot of people there. They are not backing down, and the Nigerian government are not saying anything further apart from, we understand what Donald Trump is trying to do. I do not know how that has been able to save lives at the end of the day. So this is what the reality on ground. There's a grand plan to jail Nnamdi Kanu, and that is why he's attracting the UK, the international community, the US, the Israeli government, the Canadian government, even the Pope too has also added his voice in that regard. These things are going to create an international intervention and possibly invasion of the of Nigerian system to rescue a man who has been adjourned by relevant bodies all over the world as innocent. So there's not how Nigeria, people are watching what is going to happen on the 20th, and everything is being put on the head of Justice Omotosho and the federal government under Bola Tinubu. At the end of the day, whatever happens, Nigeria will be able to know, how that got to a point where we don't know the kind of law they want to use I don't know the kind of section of the constitution or section of the law they want to use to invoke a possible life imprisonment jail term on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And that's why Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has finally declared war on these institutions of manipulation or oppression and suppression at the end of the day.
Okay, but there was an alleged report that what the Nigerian judiciary are in complete disarray as regards Nnamdi Kanu freedom. They say they are split, and even Justice Omotosho was even probably drilled by the appeal court as regards, just like you said, the law that will be used to try Nnamdi Kanu. Do you think that the judiciary, if they are not getting this, because other global attention has been drawn to this Nnamdi Kanu's issue, and if the judiciary cannot put out the law that they want to use to try Nnamdi Kanu, do you think that this might lead to a global disgrace?
Yeah, it's always already a global disgrace now. There's no two ways about it. Nigeria is trying to cover that illegality, that shame. The Kenyan government has taken a decision. Imagine a situation where the Kenyan government, the court of Kenya came and make a pronouncement, against Nigerian government in favor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And Nigerian government is still struggling after 5 years in Nnamdi Kanu's DSS detention. My brother, this is wickedness. This is criminality. This is a high level of injustice. But the funniest thing is that how would Bola Ahmed Tinubu? I don't know. It surprises a lot of people that Bola Ahmed Tinubu had decided to back this illegality by keeping silence. And you are threatening the wrath of the international community. You are threatening the wrath of the Western powers. You are threatening the wrath of a possible military and all forms of invasion on Nigeria because of this deliberate and calculated abuse on a man who has not actually done anything wrong. Yes, the Omotosho might be under scrutiny by the Supreme Court or by the Chief Justice of the Federation, or possibly by the Attorney General of the Federation. But all these institutions we are looking at, how have they been able to manage and provide justice for Nigeria or for the Nigerian judicial system, without being under a certain influence of one president or the other? Bola Ahmed Tinubu has shown disrespect for the issue of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu completely, and I wish that the same measure is using against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the United States government under Donald Trump will use the same measure against him, so that he will feel the impact of this wickedness against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Kanu now, APC, free Nnamdi Kanu now, Tinubu, free Nnamdi Kanu now, Ababio, DSS, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu now. That is what we are demanding for. We want it now. You cannot keep a man in detention for 7 years. Adjournment. Every year adjournment. Adjournment will soon reach 100 years. 10 years, over 10 years. Only one man, free him. Hello? Yes, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu now.
How can a government negotiate with terrorists, one of the most dangerous in the world, but hold a man who never carried a gun, only spoke against injustice, and yet many who go to church every Sunday support this?
In his motion, Kanu is requesting that the appeal court grant an order staying the proceedings of the trial court pending the hearing and determination of his appeal. He highlights several points in his application. First, he points to the trial court's decision on his no-case submission, where he argued that the prosecution has not presented sufficient evidence to prove the case. The trial court, however, has refused to rule on this. He also argues that the court has refused to determine its own jurisdiction and the validity of the counts, the charges against him. This is very important because in legal terms, a court must first confirm it has the power to hear the case and that the charges are properly framed before proceeding to judgment. According to Kanu, the court's refusal to address these points has foreclosed his right to defend himself because he cannot fully respond if these fundamental questions remain unanswered. Kanu stresses that if the appeal court does not grant the stay, he risks being convicted unlawfully without the opportunity to ensure that the charges are valid and that the trial court has the proper authority. He adds that proceeding with the trial now would render his eventual appeal ineffective, a situation he describes as a fait accompli, meaning the decision would be irreversible in practice even if he later appeals successfully. This is why he is asking the appeal court to pause the trial, so that these important issues can be fully considered before any judgment is delivered. He emphasizes that granting the stay will not harm either party because the case has already been prolonged since 2015, and justice is better served when fundamental questions about jurisdiction and evidence are resolved first. The trial court, presided over by Justice Omotosho, has already warned Kanu that he must defend himself or risk losing the right to present his case. But Kanu's position is clear. He cannot be forced to defend himself when the very foundation of the trial, including jurisdiction and legal validity of charges, has not been properly addressed. This makes today's application a crucial move in his legal strategy. Now, why is this important? Nnamdi Kanu is not just any defendant. He is the leader of IPOB,
the indigenous people of Biafra, and his actions have attracted national and international attention for many years. His supporters view him as fighting for the rights of the southeastern region of Nigeria, while critics argue that his movement challenges the country's unity. This case is therefore not only a legal battle but also a political and social flashpoint. By filing this application, Kanu is ensuring that if judgment is given on 20th November without resolving these legal questions, he will have a strong basis for appeal. The stakes are high. If the appeal court grants the stay, the High Court will have to pause proceedings, potentially delaying judgment. If the stay is refused, the trial will move forward as scheduled, and the outcome will be delivered on 20th November. Either way, Nigerians are watching closely. Please,
if you are watching, like this video, subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me, do you think the appeal court will grant the stay or will the trial proceed? I want to hear what you think because this case affects legal precedent, political debates, and public interest. Let me break down the legal reasoning further so everyone understands. Kanu's motion highlights three main areas. The no-case submission, which is his claim that the prosecution's evidence is insufficient. The jurisdiction of the trial court, which asks whether the court has the power to try him. And the validity of the counts, which questions whether the charges themselves are proper and legal. All these points must be addressed to ensure a fair trial.
he also points out that the trial court has not allowed him to present his witnesses fully because of these unresolved issues. So in his view, the trial cannot proceed fairly until the appeal court weighs in. Legally, this is a strong argument because courts must respect the right to defend oneself. From a broader perspective, this case is about more than just one man. It's a test for the Nigerian judiciary, showing how courts balance complex political and social issues with strict legal principles. It's also about timing. The judgment is set for 20th of November, and the application has come very close to this date, which adds urgency and drama. Nnamdi Kanu's supporters are closely following this move because if the stay is granted, it would mean more time to prepare his defense and challenge the trial on important legal grounds. If the stay is denied, the trial will go forward and the 20th November date will become decisive. Now, my people, make sure you like this video, subscribe and share it because updates will come fast. Keep your eyes on this channel to get the full breakdown when the appeal court delivers its decisions on the stay application. Remember, this is about law, fairness, and justice. It's about whether every citizen, regardless of profile, gets the opportunity to defend themselves fully. Kanu's case highlights how complex legal proceedings can intersect with politics, public perception, and human rights. So, tell me in the comments, what do you think the appeal court will do? Will they grant the stay or will the High Court proceed to judgment on 20th November? Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when we post the follow-up, breaking down exactly what happens next. This is where I want to pause before continuing. I can go on and break down possible outcomes, what each side gains or risks, and why this could affect not just Kanu, but the whole nation. Now, if the appeal court grants the stay, it means the trial at the High Court will be temporarily paused. This would give Kanu and his legal team the chance to argue all the questions about jurisdiction, validity of the counts, and his right to defend himself before any judgment is delivered. For his supporters, this would be a relief because it ensures the trial is fully fair. The judgment date of 20th November could be postponed, but it would also signal that the judiciary is careful to respect legal principles and the rights of every defendant, no matter how high profile. On the other hand, if the appeal court refuses the stay, the trial will continue as scheduled and the High Court will deliver its judgment on 20th November. This outcome would create a lot of tension because if Kanu loses, his appeal might still happen, but the trial would already be concluded. That could make his appeal less effective or harder to argue because the judgment will already have been decided. It could also increase political and social tension among his supporters and in the southeastern region. There is also a middle possibility the appeal court could grant a partial stay.
This means the court might allow certain parts of the trial to continue while pausing others. For instance, the court could pause judgment on counts that raise questions of legality while allowing procedural aspects of the trial to continue. That would be a careful balancing act, and it's something lawyers often request to protect rights without completely delaying proceedings. Now, why does this matter to everyone watching? Kanu's trial is not just about him. It is about the rule of law in Nigeria, about how courts handle high-profile cases, and about whether every citizen gets a fair trial regardless of political sensitivity. The decisions here could set precedents for other cases in the future, especially cases that involve questions of jurisdiction, the validity of laws, and the rights of defendants in politically charged trials.
For everyday Nigerians, this is also a story about transparency and accountability in the judicial system. Many people are watching closely to see if the courts act impartially, even when the case attracts national and international attention. Kanu's legal moves highlight the importance of using the law strategically and ensuring that every procedural right is protected. From the perspective of the federal government, refusing a stay would mean the trial proceeds on schedule, possibly delivering closure to a case that has lasted for over a decade. For Kanu, a stay is an opportunity to challenge the trial before judgment, ensuring that he can defend himself fully and that the court follows proper legal processes. Please, my viewers, as you watch this, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell me, do you think the court will grant the stay? And if it is granted, do you think it will delay the judgment for long, or will it just pause for a short time? Your opinion matters because this is one of the most important legal stories in Nigeria today. Another point to consider is the timing. The trial is moving fast, with judgment set for 20th of November, and Kanu's application came very close to this date. That adds pressure on the appeal court to make a careful decision quickly. Every decision they make now could influence not just this trial, but the broader perception of justice in Nigeria. Also, it's important to note that the arguments in Kanu's application are technical but crucial. Questions about jurisdiction, validity of counts, and the right to defend oneself are not just legal jargon. They go to the heart of what a fair trial means. If these questions are ignored, it could lead to a conviction that is later challenged on appeal, prolonging the uncertainty even further. So my people, here is what to watch in the coming days. Whether the appeal court grants the stay, whether the judgment date is postponed, and how both Kanu's team and the federal government respond. Every step from now will be closely monitored, and any ruling could have long-term consequences for Nigerian law and politics. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notifications. Share this video with your friends so they also stay updated. And in the comments, tell me what you think. Should the court prioritize speed and conclude the trial, or should it prioritize fairness and pause to resolve all legal questions?
Finally, this is a story that affects everyone because it's not just about one man. It's about how justice is administered, how laws are applied, and how the judiciary balances legal principles with political realities. Kanu'S case is a reminder that every citizen deserves the right to defend themselves fully and that courts must take their time to ensure justice is done properly. So, my viewers, stay tuned because we will continue to follow this case closely. When the appeal court gives its ruling on the stay, we'll break it down step by step in a way everyone can understand. Now, after the appeal court delivers its ruling on Kanu'S application for a stay, there are a few main scenarios to consider. First, if the stay is granted, the High Court trial will be paused. This means Kanu will have the chance to fully argue all his points, questions about jurisdiction, validity of the counts, and his right to defend himself. In practical terms, the judgment originally scheduled for 20th of November 2025 will be delayed. This gives Kanu and his lawyers more time to prepare, ensuring that all technical and legal issues are addressed before any decision is made. If this happens, the federal government may feel some frustration because they are ready for the trial to conclude. But legally, the court is acting to ensure fairness. This would also reassure Kanu'S supporters that the legal system is respecting procedural rights. Social media will likely explode with opinions, and there may be increased debates in news outlets about fairness, legality, and political implications. The second scenario is if the stay is refused. In this case, the High Court will proceed to judgment on the scheduled date. For Kanu, this is risky because the trial could conclude before the appeal court even looks at the legal issues he raised. If the judgment is unfavorable, his team will still have the option to appeal, but the process becomes more complicated. For supporters, this could be stressful as they may feel that a judgment without fully addressing jurisdiction and legal validity is unfair. The government, on the other hand, would see this as a path to closure for a case that has lasted over a decade. A third possibility is a partial or conditional stay. Sometimes courts grant a stay on specific points but allow other parts of the trial to continue. For example, the court could pause judgment on certain charges while allowing procedural matters or preliminary hearings to go on. This is often seen as a compromise that balances fairness with efficiency. It's a nuanced approach, but it requires careful attention from both sides. From a broader perspective, the outcome of this application will have long-term consequences. If the court grants the stay, it reinforces the principle that every defendant has a right to challenge jurisdiction and validity of charges before being judged. This could influence future cases, especially politically sensitive or high-profile trials. If the stay is refused, it signals that the courts may prioritize speed and procedural progress over preemptive review of legal challenges. Either way, Nigerians will be watching closely because this case is more than just legal arguments. It touches on politics, national identity, and public trust in the judiciary. Now let's consider the impact on Nigerians and public opinion. Many people are watching this trial closely because it represents how the legal system handles high-profile defendants. If the stay is granted, it might be seen as a victory for fairness and proper procedure.